Admiral Kreck stood before the massive display screen in his command center. The lights from hundreds of stars reflected in his dark eyes as he studied the tactical information. His ship, the Dominion Eternal, was the largest vessel in the Velkhari fleet. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, preparing for what they believed would be another easy victory. The Velkhari Empire had conquered 43 star systems in the past century. Each time, the pattern was the same. They would arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance within days. The conquered species would then serve the Empire, providing resources and labor for further expansion. Now they had found something new. Intelligence reports showed 12 human settlements scattered across distant star systems. The humans appeared to have basic technology at best. Their ships looked primitive, their weapons seemed outdated, and their defenses appeared minimal. Most importantly, they had been isolated from the galactic community for hundreds of years. Perfect targets, Krex thought to himself. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw the might of the Velkhari Armada. 300 warships should be more than enough to handle whatever resistance these primitives might offer. Lieutenant Voss approached the Admiral's command platform. "Sir, we have established communication with the human settlements. Our translation systems are working properly." "Excellent," Krex replied. "Send them our standard ultimatum. Give them 72 hours to respond." The message went out across space, transmitted to every human colony simultaneously. It was simple and direct. "This is Admiral Krex of the Velkhari Empire. Your species will surrender unconditionally and submit to Imperial rule. You have 72 hours to comply. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your settlements." Light years away, Commander Yuna Kim received the message aboard the colony ship New Sol. She had been expecting something like this for years. Yuna was no ordinary colony administrator. Before leading the civilian population to their new home, she had served 20 years in the Earth Defense Force. She understood military tactics and knew how galactic empires operated. The message played on the main screen of the colony's command center. Around her, civilian leaders watched with growing fear. Some began talking about surrender immediately. Others spoke of evacuation. Yuna remained silent, thinking carefully about their options. "Commander," said Dr. Hana Lee, the colony's chief scientist, "we've been monitoring radio transmissions from other systems. The Velkhari have destroyed entire civilizations that refuse to surrender. Their military technology is centuries ahead of what most species possess." Yuna nodded slowly. "I've read the same reports. The Velkhari don't negotiate. They conquer or they destroy." She turned to face the group of colony leaders. "But they've made one critical mistake." "What mistake?" asked Mayor Teho Nam, who governed the largest settlement on the planet. "They assume we're like the other species they've conquered," Yuna explained. "They think we're isolated primitives who developed alone and have no knowledge of galactic military doctrine." Engineer Ji-Won Park stepped forward from her position at a control station. "Commander, I need to show you something. We've been keeping it secret even from most of the colonists." Ji-Won activated a hidden panel in the command center's main console. The display changed to show a complex network diagram spanning multiple star systems. Lines of light connected every human settlement, creating an intricate web of communication links. "Quantum entanglement networks," Ji-Won explained to the surprised leaders. "Every human colony has been connected since the day we arrived. We can communicate instantly across any distance. The Velkhari don't know this technology exists." Yuna smiled for the first time since receiving the ultimatum. "Show them the rest." The display changed again. This time it revealed detailed information about Velkhari military tactics, ship designs, and battle strategies. There were weapon specifications, shield frequencies, and tactical assessments spanning decades of research. Dr. Hana Lee had compiled the information from refugees who had escaped Velkhari conquests. "We've been studying them for 50 years, she said. "Every species they destroyed left survivors. Those survivors eventually found their way to human space. We've been learning from their experiences." The room fell silent as the colony leaders realized the implications. They weren't helpless victims waiting for conquest. They had been preparing for this moment for generations. "The other colonies know about this?" asked Mayor Taiho. "Every settlement, every outpost, every mining station," Yuna confirmed. "We've been coordinating our defense plans through the quantum network. The Velkhari think they're attacking scattered, isolated settlements, In reality, they're about to face a unified defense network spanning 12 star systems. Engineer Jiwon brought up another display. Our industrial facilities aren't what they appear to be either. The mining equipment, power generators, and construction platforms all have secondary functions. We've been building military hardware disguised as civilian infrastructure, Dr. Hana added. The Velkari rely entirely on energy-based weapons and defenses. Their tactical databases show they've never encountered kinetic warfare on the scale we've developed. They simply don't understand the principles we've been perfecting. Yuna walked to the main communication console. The other colony leaders watched as she prepared to send humanity's response to the Velkari ultimatum. Her fingers moved across the controls, establishing contact with the alien fleet. "This is Commander Yuna Kim speaking for all human settlements," she began. "We have received your ultimatum and considered your terms." Admiral Krex appeared on the screen, his reptilian features showing mild interest. Behind him, other Velkari officers gathered to hear the human response. They expected either immediate surrender or desperate pleas for mercy. "We reject your demands for surrender," Yuna continued. "Furthermore, we suggest you reconsider your invasion plans. One armada can't stop us." The Velkari officers began laughing. Admiral Krex's expression showed amused contempt. "Primitive creature, you clearly don't understand the situation. Our fleet contains 300 warships equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Your species possesses nothing that could threaten the might of the Velkari Empire." "You're probably right," Yuna replied calmly. "One armada couldn't stop us. Fortunately for you, that's all you brought." The transmission ended. In the human command center, the colony leaders stood in stunned silence. Yuna had just declared war against a galactic empire. Admiral Krex stared at the empty screen for several moments. Then he turned to his tactical officer. "Begin the advance. These humans need to learn respect for their superiors. We'll start with their largest settlement and work our way through the rest." "Should we attempt to capture prisoners for interrogation?" Lieutenant Voss asked. "No," Krex replied. "Make an example of them. Complete destruction. Other species need to see what happens when primitives refuse imperial mercy." The Velkari fleet began moving toward human space, confident in their overwhelming superiority. 300 warships against scattered human settlements seemed like impossible odds. But as Admiral Krex would soon discover, the humans had been counting on exactly that assumption. The Velkari Armada moved through space like a dark cloud of death. 300 warships maintained perfect formation as they approached the outer edge of the new Busan system. Admiral Krex stood on his command bridge, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. Long-range sensors showed exactly what intelligence reports had predicted: a peaceful human settlement with basic infrastructure and no significant military presence. "Sir, we're detecting standard civilian installations," reported Lieutenant Voss. "Mining platforms in the asteroid belt, power stations on the moons, and basic transportation vessels moving between facilities. No weapon signatures, no military shipyards, no defense platforms." Admiral Krex nodded approvingly. "Exactly as expected." "These humans are even more primitive than the last species we conquered. At least the Zelani had proper military installations before we destroyed them." The fleet continued its approach, broadcasting surrender demands every few minutes. The humans didn't respond. Their small civilian ships continued their normal operations as if a massive invasion force wasn't bearing down on them. Some Velkari officers found this behavior strange, but Krex dismissed their concerns. "Primitive minds often freeze when faced with overwhelming force," he explained to his staff. "They probably can't comprehend what they're seeing. It will make the conquest easier." Hidden among the asteroids, Lieutenant Minho Choi monitored the approaching fleet from his concealed command post. What appeared to be a simple mining platform was actually a sophisticated military facility, buried deep inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Around him, human technicians prepared weapons systems that had been disguised as industrial equipment for decades. "Contact range in 30 minutes, reported Sergeant Nari Song from her sensor station. "All defensive platforms report ready status." Minho activated his communication link to the quantum network. "Control, this is Outpost 7. The Velkari are taking the bait exactly as predicted. They're maintaining standard battle formation and showing no awareness of our true capabilities." Commander Yuna's voice came through the speakers. "Confirmed, Outpost 7. All stations are coordinated and ready. Remember, we want to make this look like a desperate defense, not a planned ambush. Let them get close before revealing our true strength." The Velkari fleet entered the asteroid belt without changing formation. Their sensors detected only the expected mining equipment and civilian vessels. Admiral Krex ordered his ships to spread out and begin targeting the largest human installations. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human settlement," Lieutenant Voss announced. "Put it through," Krex commanded. A middle-aged human man appeared on the screen. He wore simple civilian clothes and looked terrified. "Please, Admiral Krex, we surrender. Don't destroy our homes. We have families here, children." Krex smiled coldly. "You should have considered that before your Commander Kim insulted the Velkari Empire. Your people will serve as an example to other humans." "And wait," the human pleaded. "We can offer you valuable resources. Our mining operations have uncovered rare minerals that could benefit your empire." "Your resources already belong to the Empire," Krex replied. "Begin the bombardment." The Velkari ships powered up their energy weapons, preparing to reduce the human installations to space dust. Brilliant beams of focused energy lanced out toward the mining platforms and civilian vessels. But instead of vaporizing helplessly, something impossible happened. The mining platforms suddenly blazed with defensive energy shields. The equipment that had appeared to be simple ore processors revealed themselves as massive railgun batteries. What looked like civilian cargo haulers dropped their disguises to expose military-grade armor and weapon systems. "Impossible!" Lieutenant Voss shouted as his sensor readings spiked beyond comprehension. "Sir, those aren't mining platforms. They're military installations." Before Admiral Krex could respond, the human counterattack began. Railgun slugs moving at incredible speed slammed into the lead Velkari ships. The kinetic projectiles punched through energy shields like they weren't there and tore massive holes in the alien hulls. "Shields down on ships 7 through 12. An officer reported in panic. "The projectiles are ignoring our energy barriers." More weapons revealed themselves throughout the asteroid belt. What had appeared to be a peaceful mining operation was actually a massive fortress network. Hidden mass drivers began hurling asteroids at the Velkari fleet with terrifying precision. Each rock had been fitted with guidance systems and explosives, turning space debris into guided missiles. Captain Day-Wan led the first wave of human fighters from their concealed hangar bays. The small ships looked crude compared to Velkari technology, but they moved with impossible speed and agility. They seemed to ignore basic physics, making turns that should have killed their pilots and accelerating beyond theoretical limits. "How are they moving like that?" demanded Admiral Krex as he watched human fighters dance between his ship's weapons fire. "Unknown, sir. Their propulsion systems don't match any known technology in our databases." The human ships weren't using traditional engines. Instead, they manipulated magnetic fields and gravitational forces to achieve maneuvers that conventional physics said were impossible. While the Velkari had focused on energy-based technology, humans had learned to exploit the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Lieutenant Minho activated the next phase of the defense plan. Throughout the asteroid belt, hidden installations began working together in perfect coordination. They created overlapping fields of kinetic projectiles, guided asteroids, and magnetic interference that turned the space around the Velkari fleet into a deadly maze. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count," Lieutenant Voss reported, his voice filled with terror. "The humans have weapons we don't understand. Our shields are useless against their attacks." Admiral Krex watched in growing horror as his supposedly invincible fleet was torn apart by primitive humans. Ship after ship disappeared in explosions of metal and atmosphere. The perfect Velkari formation collapsed into chaos as captains tried desperately to evade attacks that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "All ships, emergency retreat," Krex finally ordered. "Fall back to safe distance." But the humans weren't finished. As the surviving Velkari ships tried to withdraw, more hidden weapons activated. Magnetic pulse generators created zones of interference that disrupted the aliens' navigation systems. Gravity manipulators created artificial wells that pulled damaged ships off course. Captain Day-Wan's fighters harassed the retreating vessels, using their impossible maneuverability to stay one step ahead of return fire. They targeted engines and communication arrays, ensuring that the Velkari withdrawal would be as chaotic and destructive as possible. When the surviving ships finally reached safe distance, Admiral Krex surveyed the damage in stunned silence. Half his fleet was gone. The other half was damaged and demoralized. What should have been a quick victory had turned into a devastating defeat. "Sir," Lieutenant Voss said quietly, "how did this happen?" "Our intelligence said they were primitives," Krex stared at the tactical display showing the human installations. They still appeared to be simple mining equipment, but now he knew the truth. Every platform, every facility, every piece of apparently civilian infrastructure had been a carefully disguised weapon. "Send a message to High Command," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not what they appear to be." Back in the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Minho received congratulations from the quantum network. The first test of human defenses had exceeded all expectations, but he knew this was only the beginning. "Good work, everyone," he announced to his crew, "but prepare for the next wave. The Velkari won't make the same mistake twice." News of the defeat at New Busan spread through Velkari space like wildfire. Admiral Krex's request for reinforcements triggered emergency protocols throughout the Empire. Within hours, fleets from 3 different sectors began converging on human space. The Empire's pride had been wounded, and they would not let primitive humans mock their superiority. Supreme Commander Thax arrived with the elite Void Legion, bringing the total invasion force to over 1,000 ships. These weren't ordinary Velkari vessels. The Void Legion represented the finest military technology the Empire possessed, with crews trained to handle the most dangerous threats in the galaxy. "Admiral Krex," Supreme Commander Thax said as he reviewed the battle reports, "explain to me how 300 warships were defeated by mining equipment." Krex shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Sir, the humans have been deceiving us. Their installations aren't what they appear to be. They've somehow hidden military capabilities beneath civilian disguises." "Impossible," Thax replied. "Our sensors can detect any known weapons technology. If they had real military installations, we would have seen them." "That's what I thought too, sir. But their weapons operate on principles we don't understand. They use kinetic projectiles instead of energy beams. Their shields don't work like ours. Their ships move in ways that shouldn't be possible." Supreme Commander Thax studied the tactical recordings from the battle. The human weapons did indeed appear to ignore Velkari defenses, but he couldn't accept that primitives had developed superior technology. "We'll approach this differently," he decided. "The Void Legion will advance in multiple waves. Even if the humans have hidden weapons, they can't have enough firepower to stop 1,000 ships." Meanwhile, throughout human space, the real defensive preparations were beginning. Dr. Arajin worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the research station Deep Thought, analyzing captured Velkari technology from the first battle. What she discovered changed everything. "Commander Kim," she reported through the quantum network, "I've found their weakness. The Velkari are completely dependent on energy-based systems. Every weapon, every shield, every propulsion system operates on the same basic principles." Yuna's voice came back immediately. "Explain." "They've never encountered kinetic warfare because no other species developed it," Dr. Era continued. "Every civilization they conquered followed the same technological path. Energy manipulation, force fields, particle beams. They don't understand momentum-based weapons because they've never needed to." Engineer Kyung Park joined the conversation from his position aboard a hidden construction facility. "Dr. Jin is right. While other species learned to harness energy, we learned to exploit physics itself. We use the universe's own laws as weapons." Yuna smiled as she coordinated the network of human commanders spread across 12 star systems. "Then it's time to show them what human doctrine really means. Activate all hidden installations." Throughout human space, the truth began to reveal itself. What the Velkari had mistaken for isolated settlements were actually nodes in a vast defensive network. Hidden beneath civilian disguises were weapons and installations that had been under construction for decades. Ships began emerging from concealed positions in asteroid fields, nebulae, and dead planets. These weren't the small fighters that had surprised the Velkari at New Busan. These were massive vessels that had been built in secret, incorporating technologies that defied conventional understanding. Captain Woo Kim commanded one such vessel, the Silent Thunder. From the outside, it appeared to be a simple cargo hauler. Inside, it contained experimental weapons that manipulated gravitational fields. The ship could create artificial gravity wells, bend space-time, and even achieve limited teleportation effects. "All ships, this is Commander Kim." Yuna broadcast across the quantum network. "The Velkari are approaching with overwhelming numbers. They expect us to defend our colonies. Instead, we're going to show them how humans really fight." The second Velkari advance began differently from the first. Supreme Commander Thax divided his forces into multiple groups, attacking several human settlements simultaneously. He believed this would prevent the humans from concentrating their defensive efforts, but the humans weren't defending fixed positions. As the Velkari fleets advanced, human ships appeared behind them, emerging from hiding places throughout the galaxy. What had seemed like separate attacks on isolated targets suddenly became a coordinated trap spanning multiple star systems. The Void Legion encountered its first surprise when trying to attack the colony at New Guangzhou. As their ships entered the system, they found themselves facing weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Human installations fired projectiles that accelerated continuously, gaining speed as they traveled through space instead of slowing down. "Impossible," shouted Captain Vex of the Void Legion flagship. "Projectiles can't accelerate after being fired." But human mass drivers used magnetic field manipulation to continue accelerating their ammunition long after leaving the barrel. The projectiles built up tremendous kinetic energy over long distances, arriving with devastating force that no energy shield could stop. At New Daegu, another Void Legion force discovered that human ships could appear and disappear without warning. Captain Day 1 led a squadron of Void Reapers, small vessels that had mastered short-range spatial manipulation. They would teleport into the middle of Velkari formations, deliver devastating attacks, and vanish before return fire could reach them. The alien commanders found themselves fighting an enemy that operated by completely different rules. Human weapons ignored energy shields. Human ships moved in impossible ways. Human tactics made no sense according to conventional military doctrine. Supreme Commander Thax watched his carefully planned assault collapse into chaos. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our technology is superior. Our ships are more advanced." "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "I think that's the problem. We've been assuming they use the same technology we do. But what if they developed along a completely different path?" The realization hit Thax like a physical blow. The humans weren't using inferior versions of Velkari technology. They had developed entirely different approaches to warfare. While the Empire had perfected energy manipulation, humans had mastered kinetic systems, magnetic fields, and spatial distortion. Back aboard the Indomitable, hidden inside a hollowed-out moon, Commander Yuna coordinated the human response. The battle wasn't going according to any military manual ever written. Human forces struck from unexpected directions, used impossible weapons, and employed tactics that no conventional army could counter. "Status report," she requested from her commanders. "Void Legion forces at New Guangzhou are in full retreat," reported Captain Wu. "Kim, our gravity weapons are proving highly effective against their energy-based propulsion systems. New Daegu attackers are scattered and confused," added Captain Day 1. "The Void Reapers are causing panic throughout their formations." "Excellent," Yuna replied. "Begin Phase 2. Show them what happens when humans stop holding back." Across human space, installations that had remained hidden even during the first attacks finally revealed themselves. Massive platforms emerged from nebulae, where they had been gathering energy for decades. Weapons that manipulated the fundamental forces of reality powered up for the first time. The Velkari Void Legion, humanity's supposedly inferior enemy, was about to learn why Earth's children had been called the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The defeat of the Void Legion sent shockwaves through the Velkari Empire. For the first time in centuries, their military had been not just defeated, but completely outmaneuvered by an enemy they had considered primitive. The Emperor himself decided to take personal command of the situation. Emperor Valdris was ancient even by Velkari standards. He had ruled the Empire for 300 years and had never known defeat. When reports reached him of the human victories, his first reaction was disbelief. When the evidence became undeniable, his response was swift and overwhelming. "Assemble the Great Armada," he commanded from his throne aboard the massive flagship Eternal Dominion. "Every available ship, every reserve fleet, every ally who owes us service. I want 5,000 vessels ready for immediate deployment." The Great Armada represented the combined military might of a dozen conquered civilizations. Ships from former enemies now served the Empire, their crews motivated by fear rather than loyalty. The Armada had never been fully assembled before, because no threat had ever required such overwhelming force. Admiral Krex and Supreme Commander Thax stood before the Emperor as he reviewed the battle plans. Around them, the command center buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history. Your Majesty, Admiral Krex began carefully, the humans have proven more resourceful than expected. Perhaps we should attempt negotiations before— Silence, Emperor Valdris interrupted. The humans have made the Empire look weak. Other species are watching to see how we respond. If we negotiate with primitives, every conquered world will think they can rebel against us. Supreme Commander Thax stepped forward. Sir, our intelligence about human capabilities was clearly flawed. They possess technologies we don't understand. Perhaps we should study their methods before— I don't care about their methods, the Emperor snapped. I care about results. 5,000 ships will achieve results. No species in galactic history has ever survived an assault by the Great Armada. Light years away, human preparations entered their final phase. Dr. Nara Song, head of the Colonial Defense Initiative, stood in the main command center of Installation Prime, a facility so secret that most humans didn't know it existed. Around her, displays showed the true scope of humanity's defensive network. Commander Kim, she said through the quantum link, it's time to tell you the truth about what we've been doing for the past 2 centuries. Yuna's image appeared on the main screen, along with connection indicators showing dozens of other human commanders throughout the galaxy. I'm listening, Dr. Song. The colonies were never our real defense, Dr. Song explained. They were bait. The real human infrastructure exists in deep space, hidden in locations the Velkari would never think to look. The display changed to show a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Scattered throughout were dozens of installations, each one the size of a small moon. They had been positioned in asteroid fields, nebulae, and dead systems, gathering resources and energy for decades. We knew contact with galactic civilization would eventually come, continued Dr. Song. Our analysis of refugee reports suggested it would be hostile, so we prepared accordingly. Captain Wu Kim's voice came through the network from his position aboard the Silent Thunder. Are you saying the colonies are expendable? No, Dr. Song replied. The colonies are real homes with real people, but they were also designed to draw enemy attention away from our true capabilities. While aliens focused on our visible settlements, we built these. The display zoomed in on one of the hidden installations. It was massive, bristling with weapons that looked like nothing in any galactic database. These weren't simple kinetic weapons or basic gravity manipulators. These were devices that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. Installation 7 houses our experimental gravity cascade generators, Dr. Song explained. Installation 12 contains quantum tunneling platforms that can transport entire fleets instantly across the galaxy. Installation 25 has reality anchors that can alter the laws of physics in localized areas. Commander Yuna studied the displays in amazement. How many people know about this? A few hundred scientists and engineers spread across all installations, Dr. Song answered. Everyone else, including most military personnel, believed we were just defending colonies with advanced but conventional weapons. As the Great Armada approached human space, the Velkari began detecting strange energy readings from previously empty regions of space. Emperor Valdris ordered investigation teams to examine these anomalies, but the ships that approached the energy sources simply disappeared. Your Majesty, reported Admiral Thax, we've lost contact with 12 scout ships investigating unknown energy signatures. They approach the sources and then vanish without sending distress signals. Emperor Valdris studied the tactical displays showing the missing ships' last known positions. The locations formed a pattern around human space as if something was watching and waiting. Cloaked defense platforms, he decided. The humans have hidden weapons throughout this region. Order the Great Armada to advance in full formation. Whatever they're hiding, it can't stand against 5,000 ships. But the humans weren't hiding simple defense platforms. Captain Sua Lee commanded Installation 7 from her position deep inside a nebula that had concealed the massive facility for 50 years. Around her, technicians prepared weapons that could manipulate space and time itself. Contact in 6 hours, reported Lieutenant Nara Kim from her sensor station. The entire Velkari fleet is advancing together. They're not trying to split their forces this time. Perfect, Captain Sua replied. Send the signal to all installations. Begin the convergence protocol. Throughout the galaxy, hidden human installations began moving for the first time in decades. Using technologies that bent space around them, they slowly approached a predetermined rendezvous point. The Velkari sensors detected massive gravitational distortions but couldn't identify their source. What's happening? Demanded Emperor Valdris as his tactical officers struggled to make sense of their readings. Space itself appears to be moving. The truth was exactly that. Humans had learned to manipulate space-time on a massive scale. While other species fought with energy and matter, humanity had weaponized the mathematics of reality itself. As the Great Armada entered what humans called the convergence zone, they found themselves in a region where normal physics no longer applied. Ships that tried to change course found their navigation systems malfunctioning. Weapons that fired in one direction somehow hit targets in completely different locations. Sir, Admiral Krex reported with growing panic. Our instruments are giving impossible readings. Ships are reporting that their own weapons are targeting them. Space is behaving like it's liquid instead of vacuum. Emperor Valdris watched his invincible armada begin to lose cohesion as fundamental laws of physics shifted around them. For the first time in his long life, he felt genuine fear. The humans had done more than develop advanced weapons. They had learned to rewrite reality itself. Admiral Suali stood at the center of the most advanced command facility humanity had ever built. The reality's edge was more than a ship or station. It was a platform that existed partially outside normal spacetime, hidden in the spaces between dimensions where conventional sensors couldn't detect it. Around her, displays showed the positions of every ship in the Great Armada as they entered the trap that humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing. The Velkari thought they were advancing on human colonies. In reality, they were flying directly into a region of space that had been carefully modified over decades of secret work. All installations. Report ready, announced Lieutenant Tejo. Park from his position at the tactical console. The convergence field is stable and expanding. Quantum. Anchors are locked, added Engineer Gina Song. We have total control over local spacetime within a radius of 2 light years. Sua nodded as she watched the Velkari fleet enter deeper into the modified zone. Emperor Valdris had brought 5,000 ships representing the military might of an entire galactic empire. It was impressive by any normal standard, but humans had stopped thinking in normal terms long ago. Begin Phase 1, Sua commanded. Show them what happens when momentum becomes a weapon. Throughout the modified region, hidden installations activated systems that could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. The first effect was subtle. Velkari ships found their movement becoming increasingly difficult to control. What should have been simple course corrections became impossible maneuvers as the laws of motion were gradually altered. Emperor Valdris watched. From his flagship as his perfectly organized armada began to lose formation. Ships that tried to slow down found themselves accelerating instead. Vessels attempting to turn left suddenly veered right. The most experienced pilots in the galaxy couldn't control their own spacecraft. What's happening to our ships? He demanded from his bridge crew, unknown. Your Majesty, replied Admiral Krex. Our engines are functioning normally, but space itself seems to be wrong. Newton's laws aren't working the way they should. Impossible. Emperor Valdris shouted. Physical laws are universal. They can't be changed. But humans had discovered that physical laws weren't as fixed as most species believed. While other civilizations learned to work within the rules of reality, humanity had learned to rewrite those rules entirely. Engineer Taiho Nam operated the momentum cascade generators from Installation 12. These devices could alter the mathematical relationships that governed motion and energy. In the affected region, the basic equation of force equaling mass times acceleration could be modified at will, increasing the cascade effect, he reported to the command network. Velkari ships are now experiencing reversed momentum vectors. The Great Armada descended into chaos as ships began colliding with each other. Vessels that fired their engines forward found themselves moving backward. Fighters that tried to break formation crashed into capital ships. The most organized military force in galactic history became a confused mass of helpless vessels. Phase 2. Admiral Sua announced. Activate the physics web. Hidden throughout the modified region were devices that humanity called reality anchors. These installations could alter the fundamental constants that governed how matter and energy interacted. In their vicinity, the speed of light could be changed. Gravity could be reversed and time itself could flow at different rates. Captain Minho Choi operated one such anchor from his concealed position inside what appeared to be an empty moon. Reality Anchor 7 is active, he reported. Local physics are now under our control. The Valkyrie found themselves in a nightmare where nothing worked as expected. Energy weapons that fired coherent beams of light found their projectiles slowing to a crawl, as the speed of light was reduced in their path. Plasma bolts that should have moved at tremendous velocity instead drifted like soap bubbles. Sir, Admiral Thax reported with growing terror, our weapons are failing. The energy beams are barely moving. It's like space as thick as water. Emperor Valdris stared at his tactical displays as they showed impossible readings. His ships were trapped in regions where gravity pointed upward instead of toward mass, where time moved backward, where energy became solid matter and matter became pure energy. This is impossible, he whispered. No species can control fundamental forces. But humans had done exactly that. Dr. Narasong watched from Installation Prime as her life's work reached its culmination. She had spent 50 years learning to manipulate the mathematical foundations of reality. While other species saw the universe as fixed, she saw it as a vast equation that could be solved and rewritten. Beginning final phase, she announced to the Human Command Network. Activating the reality cascade. The ultimate human weapon wasn't a gun or a bomb. It was a network of installations that could link together to alter physics across vast regions of space. When fully activated, they could turn an entire star system into a weapon where the laws of nature served human purposes. Energy began flowing between the hidden installations, creating a web of modified spacetime that encompassed the entire Valkyrie fleet. Within this web, humans controlled everything from the strength of atomic bonds to the flow of time itself. The Great Armada found itself caught in a maelstrom of controlled scientific chaos. Ships that tried to fire weapons found their own energy being redirected back at them. Vessels that attempted to escape discovered that space around them was expanding faster than they could travel through it. Admiral Krex watched helplessly as his flagship's hull began to dissolve. The molecular bonds holding the metal together were being systematically weakened by devices that could manipulate atomic forces. Around him, other ships were experiencing similar effects as humans demonstrated complete control over matter itself. Your Majesty, he said to Emperor Valdris, we must surrender. We cannot fight beings who can control reality itself. Emperor Valdris stared at the displays showing his disintegrating armada, 5,000 ships, the pride of an empire that had conquered countless worlds, were being destroyed not by superior weapons but by the complete rewriting of physical law. His communication officer managed to establish contact with the Human Command Network. Commander Yuna Kim appeared on the screen speaking from her hidden command ship. Emperor Valdris, she said calmly, your fleet is now completely under our control. We can destroy it instantly or preserve it indefinitely. The choice is yours. How? The Emperor asked, his voice barely a whisper. How is this possible? You were primitives. We were never primitives, Yuna replied. We were patient. While your species learned to harness energy, we learned to exploit the universe itself. While you conquered through force, we conquered through understanding. The Emperor looked around his dissolving bridge as reality continued to shift around him. What do you want? Peace, Yuna answered. Withdraw your forces from all human systems. Recognize humanity as an equal member of the galactic community. Share your knowledge freely with all species and we will do the same. And if we refuse, Yuna's expression remained calm. Then you will discover that we've been very patient for a very long time. And our patience has limits. Emperor Valdris made the only choice available to him. The Valkyrie Empire surrenders unconditionally. As news of the surrender spread throughout the galaxy, other alien civilizations sent diplomatic envoys instead of invasion fleets. The species that had seemed like isolated primitives were revealed to be the most technologically advanced beings in known space. Humanity accepted membership in the galactic community, but on their own terms. They shared some of their knowledge while keeping their most dangerous secrets hidden. They opened peaceful trade but maintained their defensive networks. Most importantly, they sent a clear message to every species in the galaxy. Humans were no longer hiding. They were ready to take their place among the stars, and they would do so as equals, not subjects. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human expansion had begun.